I'm going to start to cry. It feels somehow,
It's possible that Iceman is a legendary character, and Top Gun introduced Val Kilmer to the world of superstardom. In the role that he is portraying on the big screen, the actor could give the impression that he has everything. It is possible that many who are admirers of Kilmer's work in the film industry are unaware of the fact that his life has been filled with a great deal of misery, and that the thread of bad luck began at a very young age. Val Kilmer is an actor who is well supplied with challenging source material from his own life. If there was ever this kind of performer, it would be him. As we continue to look into the tragic story of Val Kilmer, make sure to keep watching. Even when his parents divorced, he never really moved on with his life. Up to the time that Val Kilmer reached the age of 9, he and his two brothers, one of whom was older than him and the other of whom was only a year younger, had the privilege of being reared by both of their parents. The Kilmers' decision to divorce in 1968 was a pivotal moment in their lives, since it represented the beginning of a big turning point. As a consequence of this, the three boys found themselves in the custody of their father. Val was left with a lasting impression as a result of the aftermath of the divorce. Due to his inability to process the split in a healthy manner during his formative years, he was never able to fully recover from the emotional upheaval that he experienced. Despite the fact that his relationship with his father was deteriorating, Val discovered that he was becoming more aloof and, at times, overtaken with grief. When he reflected on this time period, he noted that I was reserved, more introspective than gregarious, and that my relationship with my father was strained for a considerable amount of time. Val Kilmer's father passed away in the middle of the 1990s, which brought to light the lasting repercussions of the divorce that had occurred previously. This occurrence sparked off a turbulent period for Val and his older brother, Mark, which resulted in substantial conflicts as they navigated the complexity of settling their late father's affairs. There were significant disagreements between them. The fact that one of the positive outcomes of the divorce occurred not long after Val's parents went their separate ways is an interesting development. Val acquired a strong interest in drama as a means of learning how to deal with the difficulties that he encountered in his everyday life. This newly discovered interest prompted him to enroll in acting classes, which provided him with the opportunity to maybe escape the challenges he was facing. At the juvenile age of 12, Val Kilmer began to face the hurdles that he would face in the world of acting. The story of Val Kilmer's early troubles as an actor can be traced back to his preteen years, and it is revealed when one investigates his struggles. In a revealing interview that took place in 1999 with the show At First Sight and was later uploaded to YouTube, Kilmer addressed the origins of the difficulties he has encountered in his artistic endeavors. Kilmer was only 12 years old when he was confronted with a defining event in his burgeoning acting career. Unfortunately, Kilmer's first attempt at acting did not result in any kind of success, contrary to what was anticipated. The performer related his first audition experience, revealing that he was unsuccessful in securing the job not because of a lack of skill, but rather because he struggled to fully commit to the character. He explained that this was the reason he was unsuccessful. This problem with commitment, which is a trademark of Kilmer's approach as a method actor, became apparent in a memorable episode that involved a commercial for hamburgers. Kilmer was just 12 years old when he found himself working on the set of a hamburger commercial, which was a rather insignificant endeavor for a young actor working at the time. In spite of this, his dedication to his profession was the most important thing to him even at this early point. Kilmer made the courageous choice to leave the set because he was unable to believe in the burgers that his character was supposed to endorse in a real manner. There was a barrier that prevented Kilmer from producing a true performance, and that barrier was his inability to genuinely identify with the motivations of his character. Kilmer had already amassed a few years of theater school, which provided him with a foundation to traverse the complexity of the acting business. This was made possible by the fact that he was still relatively young. Nevertheless, despite being equipped with this information and developing a growing sense of self-awareness as an actor, Kilmer was unable to secure the role of the child in the burger ad, which was about the unexpected death of Val Kilmer's brother. At the beginning of his voyage into the world of acting, Val Kilmer experienced a key milestone in his life, which marked the beginning of a promising adventure. Kilmer accomplished a rare feat when he was only 16 years old and was accepted into the famous Juilliard School of Acting in New York City. Kilmer's feat was highlighted by the renowned roster of Juilliard alumni, which included names such as Robin Williams, Kelsey Grammer, Miles Davis, and Christopher Reeve, highlighting the significance of his accomplishment. Nevertheless, just as Kilmer was on the verge of entering this transforming chapter, a horrible tragedy occurred that altered the path that his life would take from that point on. The younger brother of Val Kilmer, Wesley, who is also an aspiring director and is Val's junior by 1 year, was an important figure in his life journey. Val held Wesley in the highest regard, despite the fact that he had been diagnosed with epilepsy because of his condition. According to what Kilmer said in an interview with the New York Times, his brother was a genius and an incredible artist who was destined for glory on par with of another film directors like Steven Spielberg or George Lucas. A severe epileptic fit, which is an electrical storm of the brain that seizes the body and can lead to unconsciousness, occurred on the eve of Val's enrollment at Juilliard. This catastrophe occurred on the day that Val was scheduled to begin his studies at Juilliard. The culmination of this tragic occurrence was the tragic death of Wesley, who drowned after falling into the swimming pool that belonged to his family. Kilmer admitted in an open and honest manner to the Times that he was profoundly saddened by this tremendous loss. Following the passing of my brother, it took me around 2 or 3 years before I was able to return to Earth. He communicated his feelings by making a musical reference that was weirdly devoid of irony. He compared his experience to the song "I'm Sick of Sight Without the Sense of Feeling" by Nickelback. During a moment of introspection in 2019, Kilmer shared a touching photo on social media that featured him alongside his brothers Mark and Wesley. The caption on the photo said, "Me and my perfect brothers Mark and Wesley, nay." Both the continuing power of familial relationships and the enormous influence that Wesley had on Val's life, even in his pursuit of a profession in acting, are demonstrated by this post, which stands as a tribute to both of these things. As a result of his obsession, Val Kilmer fell apart. During an interview with The Telegraph in 2004, Val Kilmer made the observation that despite the fact that he is a character actor, he appears to be a leading man. Kilmer was the ideal choice to portray the troubled yet mesmerizing Jim Morrison in Oliver Stone's film The Doors, which was released in 1991. This duality of appearance and thought made Kilmer the prime candidate for the role. An in-depth examination of Morrison's rise to fame as a rock musician and his precipitous fall into substance misuse, which ultimately led to his tragic death at the age of 27, is presented in the narrative. During the turbulent days on site, where conflicts with Stone regarding the direction of the picture transpired, Kilmer's diva persona began to harden. This was despite the fact that his portrayal of the wounded troubadour of The Doors gained plaudits. In an interview with Esquire in 2005, Stone provided a diplomatic description of Kilmer's communication style. He claimed that Kilmer communicates in a manner that is propelled from deep within, and that he does not always know how the things he says would sound to other people. All of this information was delivered to the audience. There were times when Kilmer's unrelenting dedication to his art caused his relationships with his co-stars to become tense. Caitlin O'Hine, an actress who participated in the audition process for The Doors, has made allegations that Kilmer raped her during an audition that went out of control. O'Hine stated that when she arrived to the room, Val Kilmer pulled her up and shook her, causing her to fall to the ground. She related this story to BuzzFeed News in the year 2017, when she was asked about the incident. Because of this, O'Hine initiated the filing of a preliminary police report for battery, which ultimately resulted in a settlement of $2,450. It was discovered that O'Hine, Stone, and Kilmer had entered into a secrecy agreement, which prevented them from exposing the claims. However, Risa Brahman Garcia, who was present during the incident and was the casting director for the film, disputed O'Hine's account, stating that she believed it to be exaggerated due to the circumstances. There was a tragic conclusion to the marriage of Val Kilmer. During the production of the action-adventure film Willow, which was directed by Ron Howard and released in 1988, Val Kilmer met the actress Joanne Whalley, which marked a significant turning point in his romantic path. Through the shared professional environment, Love bloomed between them, which ultimately led to their marriage. Together, they became parents to 2 children, a daughter named Mercedes and a son named Jack. Both of their children were born into the world. On the other hand, this love tale did not endure the test of time and arrived at a conclusion that was bittersweet. The marriage of the pair eventually failed, and the divorce that they finalized in 1996 was marked by acrimony. According to the reports, Wally appears to have harbored suspicions of Kilmer's affairs. During the turbulent time that Kilmer was married to Wally, there were rumors that he might have been associated with Cindy Crawford, a supermodel who is known all over the world. As the marriage eventually ended, their relationship eventually became known to the whole public. After some time had passed, Kilmer pondered on the dissolution of his marriage and attributed a portion of the tension to his unyielding dedication to the character of Jim Morrison in The Doors. Kilmer engaged in method acting, which entailed completely submerging himself in the role of the troubled rocker, for a considerable amount of time, to the extent that he lived the life of the character. The strain that was placed on his marriage was a direct result of the tremendous passion that he had for his trade. The divorce proceedings took an unexpected turn when Wally had divorce papers served to Kilmer while he was working on the set of The Island of Dr. Moreau, which was directed by John Frankenheimer. They became famous in Hollywood as a result of the aftermath from their marriage, and Frankenheimer publicly expressed his dissatisfaction with the situation, even going so far as to say, "I will never climb Mount Everest. And I will never work with Val Kilmer again," he went on to say. The world does not have sufficient amounts of money. Working with Val Kilmer was something that was openly disliked by a number of people, including John Frankenheimer. In addition to John Frankenheimer, who directed The Island of Dr. Moreau, there were other people who publicly voiced their distaste for the fact that they had to collaborate with Val Kilmer. Throughout the entirety of the American film industry, Kilmer had earned a reputation for being one of the most difficult performers to work with. This reputation was significantly nurtured. In the year 1996, Entertainment Weekly published an article with the heading, "Val Kilmer Makes Enemies in Hollywood." The story featured the sentence, "Many in Hollywood are loath to work with him, regardless of how big the box office payback may be." It is essential to realize that by the year 1996, Kilmer had already established himself as a film icon that would not be erased. His roles in critically acclaimed films such as Heat, in which he co-starred with Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, his portrayal of Batman in Batman Forever, his pitch-perfect recreation of Jim Morrison, his embodiment of Doc Holliday in Tombstone, and his iconic portrayal of Iceman in Top Gun had solidified his status as an actor who was in high demand. Kilmer's reputation for being unpleasant on set came to eclipse his accomplishments. Despite the fact that the film was commercially successful and received wide critical acclaim, Kilmer's real dedication to doing his finest work for a job brought about the paradox that was being discussed. In spite of their steadfast focus, however, there were frequently interpersonal difficulties that occurred off-screen. The documentary Val offers a view into Kilmer's confession of his troublesome background, where he frankly says, "I have behaved poorly." This information was revealed by IndieWire. There is also a glimpse into the documentary Val. "Some people have reacted to my bravery and strange behavior." In the following sentence, he goes on to define himself as a human person who is sensitive and clever, but who also has the soul of a clown. The property owned by Val Kilmer was destroyed by the financial crisis of 2008. There was a substantial real estate investment that Val Kilmer made in the middle of the 1990s, during a period of career success that was distinguished by hits such as Heat and Batman Forever. This investment would ultimately turn out to be bittersweet. An expansive property in San Miguel County, New Mexico, which encompassed more than 5,000 acres, was purchased by the popular actor. A 6-mile stretch along the Pecos River, enough grazing ground for animals, and a variety of structures, including cottages and cabins, were all features of this enormous ranch, which had been known as Forked Lightning in the past when it was owned by a different family. After making derogatory remarks about the people who lived in the area, Kilmer even tried his hand at the hospitality industry by running a bed and breakfast on the estate for a period of time. However, obtaining permission for such a use proved to be difficult. Kilmer, on the other hand, started experiencing financial difficulties around the year 2006, which coincided with the discovery that he owed the Internal Revenue Service, IRS, $500,000 in unpaid taxes. Kilmer initially attempted to sell a 1,800-acre section of the ranch for the price of $18 million in an effort to alleviate his concerns regarding his financial situation. In the event that this endeavor was unsuccessful, he decided to sell a smaller 1,000-acre parcel that had 3 guest houses. The initial price of the property was $12 million, but it was subsequently dropped to $9 million within a few months. Ultimately, in 2011, Kilmer made the tough decision to sell up a significant chunk of his cherished ranch, which consisted of 5,028 acres, for a total price of $18.5 million. Particularly noteworthy is the fact that he had first proposed a price of $33 million for the majority of the area. Kilmer's relationship with the property, which he had formerly thought to be his own particular piece of heaven, underwent a profound alteration as a result of the sale, which resulted in him being left with only 14 acres of the once expansive estate. For an extended period of time, he struggled with the issue of weight growth. Val Kilmer, who had been the embodiment of fitness in the role of Iceman in 1986 and gracefully thin in the role of Jim Morrison in 1991, underwent a dramatic transition by the later years of the 2000s. He found himself struggling with middle-aged weight gain and a physique that was out of shape. This transition was mercilessly brought to light by the media, notably tabloids and newspapers, which did not shy away from being critical of it. In 2007, the Daily Mail published a headline that exemplified the lack of awareness towards the situation. The title stated that Val Kilmer had transitioned from Batman to Fat Man, and juvenile and humiliating image of Val Kilmer was included in the accompanying piece, which contained insulting statements such as, "Where a six-pack once rippled, on Val Kilmer's chest now stands what looks more like a rather large beer belly." And however, in the years that followed, Kilmer started on a journey to restore his physical condition, according to sources from Yahoo. In the entertainment industry, it was believed that he began this metamorphosis by adopting a healthier diet and going for lengthy walks on the beach close to his house in Malibu, California. In the middle of the following decade, his efforts began to bear fruit, which ultimately resulted in satisfactory weight loss. In spite of this, the media, as is their custom, couldn't help but insert some subtle digs from a different point of view. An example of a headline that appeared in the Daily Mail in December 2014 stated, "Gaunt Val Kilmer reveals dramatically shrinking frame while shopping at Levi's in Malibu." These severe criticisms were delivered against the backdrop of a man who was 55 years old and had successfully lost weight and returned to a healthier weight. There are a lot of ladies that Val Kilmer has had relationships with, and he misses them all. Val Kilmer's journey through relationships has been distinguished by both beginnings and endings, a motif that surfaced early in his life through the divorce of his parents when he was still navigating middle school. This theme has been a recurring one throughout his life. In the 1980s, when Kilmer found himself in a relationship with the legendary Cher, the ebb and flow of love ties remained. She was Kilmer's girlfriend at the time, although there was a 13-year age gap between them, and Cher was already well known. Kilmer, who was on the verge of becoming a celebrity at the time, revealed this information in his biography titled, "I'm Your Huckleberry." Once Cher has accomplished her goal of gaining a place in your mind and heart, she will never go. Her unwavering love and loyalty will endure forever, just like her genuine pals. In the aftermath of the dissolution of his marriage to Joanne Whalley, the woman who gave birth to his children, Kilmer found himself involved in a romantic connection with the model Cindy Crawford, so adding yet another chapter to his romantic past. On the other hand, it was his brief relationship with the actress Daryl Hannah that made an everlasting impression on Kilmer's heart permanently. Of 2001, when they were working on a movie together, their connection grew stronger, and the intimacy of their relationship extended to Kilmer's property in New Mexico. In the book that he wrote, he revealed the extent of his inner suffering by saying, "Lord knows I've suffered heartache, but Daryl was by far the most painful of all. Even though I have always liked you, Neil Young, I am worried that I now despise you." In 2018, Hannah tied the knot with the famed singer, and this note made reference to their eventual marriage. The fact that Val Kilmer was diagnosed with cancer brought him to a philosophical crossroads, which highlights the long-lasting influence that their separation had on Kilmer's emotional terrain. Val Kilmer's life had been a mixture of good fortune and bad luck, and it had been formed by his own decisions most of the time. According to his philosophical viewpoint, which he expressed to the New York Times, God wants us to walk, but the devil sends a limo. This perspective is consistent with his philosophical position. Kilmer, on the other hand, was confronted with a different kind of difficulty in 2014. Around the time that he was on tour for a stage act, he started having trouble swallowing. A shocking occurrence had place while he was staying in Cher's guest house during this time period. Kilmer writes in his biography that he suddenly awoke and immediately began vomiting blood that covered the bed, resembling a scene from the film The Godfather. Another episode that he recalls involves blood dripping down his body, vision that is blurry, and a loss of energy. At this point in the story, the tale acquires a certain degree of ambiguity since Kilmer disputes the diagnosis that was supplied by conventional medical professionals, who identified it as throat cancer. It was recommended to him by his spiritual counselor that he pray away the emotions of terror. The fact that Kilmer was so committed to Christian Science was a contributing factor in his decision to disregard conventional medical advice. Nevertheless, his health was fast worsening, which prompted a struggle between his trust in divine healing and the urgent demands from his son Jack and daughter Mercedes to explore more tangible medical interventions. His belief in divine healing was a source of contention. Kilmer, who was known for his obstinacy, was put in the position of having to make a decision that would have significant repercussions for his own existence when we were confronted with their impassioned pleadings. Behind closed doors, Val Kilmer is battling his sickness. The concerns of Val Kilmer's children, both of whom did not belong to the Christian Science beliefs, eventually led him to give in to their demand. In an interview with the New York Times, he revealed that he did not want to put his children through the tremendous dread that they would suffer. He stated, "I would have had to go away, and I just did not want to be without them." In 2014, Kilmer had surgery to repair his voice instrument, which had been in poor condition. Following the operation, he was subjected to multiple rounds of chemotherapy and radiation therapy. In order to provide an accurate description of the severity of the treatment, he mentioned that the doctors zapped my whole throat, leaving it as dry as bone. Following the operation, he was left dependent on a tracheostomy tube, which caused him to experience shortness of breath and required him to make use of a feeding tube. According to a report by The Hollywood Reporter, Kilmer's once booming baritone, which had been his hallmark sound, has been reduced to a rasp. The severe impact that Kilmer's loss of vocal command had on him was expressed in the song "I'm Your Huckleberry," in which he lamented that once my joy and lifeblood has become an hourly struggle. At this point, I am unable to have any influence over the instrument that I had perfect authority over. Mercedes, who is Kilmer's daughter, was involved in a major accident because she was struck by a car and left with a scar that ran down the length of her leg. This awful turn of events was added to the already unfortunate chain of circumstances. Her father was also admitted to the hospital, and she found herself there as well. Jack, who is Kilmer's son, was emotionally moved as he tended to their bedsides and expressed his sadness to THR because of the situation. There I was, sitting next to these two people, and I was just, miserable and distraught. His throat cancer nearly snatched his life and robbed him of his ability to speak. The public is now well aware of the courageous fight that Val Kilmer fought against throat cancer, which was almost fatal. This harrowing experience not only posed a serious threat to his life, but it also took away his distinctive and iconic voice, which was an essential component of his identity, particularly for roles such as Jim Morrison in The Doors. It was pointed out by the Orlando Sentinel that Kilmer's singing abilities, which were displayed in the movie, were a significant factor in his successful audition for the character of Morrison. Through the use of the fascinating phrase "healing of cancer," Kilmer chose to publicly highlight his successful struggle against cancer in 2017. This was done through an Ask Me Anything session on Reddit in the year 2017. The fact behind this healing journey was that it required the patient to undergo chemotherapy and 2 tracheotomies over the course of 2 years. beginning in 2015. Parade reported that this trip began in 2015. The aggressive and taxing nature of Kilmer's fight against cancer is highlighted by these treatments, which also highlight the seriousness of the disease that he had to eliminate. Kilmer humbly acknowledged himself as still recovering even in the summer of 2021, highlighting the long-lasting impact that his daring trip had on him. Due to the absence of love, Val Kilmer is lonely. A startling undercurrent of loneliness has been there throughout Val Kilmer's life, despite the fact that he has been one of the most prominent Hollywood actors over the course of the past 4 decades. According to People, Kilmer admits that he faces loneliness on a daily basis, which is something that is detailed in his book titled I'm Your Huckleberry. Kilmer makes a profound admission when he reveals that he has not had a girlfriend for 20 years, which only serves to amplify the sense of isolation that he experiences. This lack of a love companion became especially acute during his fight against cancer, when the support of a close partner may have made a huge difference in the outcome of the situation. In spite of this, the actor discovered comfort in the process of strengthening his relationships with his children throughout these years. Furthermore, his children were instrumental in the production of the documentary Val, which provides a more personal perspective on his life and the challenges he faced. Val Kilmer detested the fact that he had to work on some of his most famous films. The path that Val Kilmer has taken through the world of film has been a rich tapestry of varied experiences, spanning from exhilarating times to profound unhappiness with particular films. His performance as Jim Morrison in The Doors is widely regarded as the zenith of his acting career. Kilmer has garnered praise for his flawless portrayal of the ill-fated rock star, and this performance has caused him to get recognition. During a round of Ask Me Anything on Reddit, Kilmer expressed his appreciation for the opportunity to work on the picture Heat, which he believes was a significant accomplishment. He eloquently recounted precious events, such as Robert De Niro and him sharing quiet smiles and Al Pacino embracing him like an elder brother in downtown Los Angeles. He also shared a few other amazing memories. In addition to rehearsing lines, while listening to live rounds from high-powered assault rifles, the experience included even sharing a kiss with Ashley Judd while she was performing. Kilmer's journey through the film industry, on the other hand, was not devoid of obstacles. A dramatic contrast was displayed in his feelings regarding Batman Forever, as he expressed his abhorrence of the experience and compared himself to a puppet dressed as a bat. The dissatisfaction that Kilmer felt with the part was photographed by the British tabloid The Daily Mail. The same thing happened with his initial distaste to the role of Iceman in Top Gun, which was revealed in his biography titled I'm Your Huckleberry. In this memoir, he acknowledged that he found the script to be ridiculous, and that he attempted to undercut his audition, only to be startled by the fact that he was cast in the role. The contradictory feelings that Kilmer has toward these films provide insight on the complicated relationship that exists between an actor and the roles that define their career throughout their lifetime. Children of Val Kilmer contributed to the production of the heartbreaking documentary Val, providing an intimate look into the life and career of Val Kilmer, one of the most mercurial performers in Hollywood. The unusual documentary Val was released by Amazon Studios in the year 2021. The description of the movie creates a clear and vivid picture. Film has been the medium through which Val Kilmer, one of the most unpredictable performers in Hollywood, has been documenting his life and his skills. From home movies he created with his brothers to time spent in legendary parts for blockbuster films like Top Gun and Batman, he has gathered thousands of hours of material. His home movies include both commercial and independent films. A heartfelt look at what it means to be an artist is presented in this documentary that is both raw and radically original. It describes a life that was lived to the extremes. A significant aspect that sets Val apart from other films is the fact that it incorporates both private and public video, which gives viewers the opportunity to see Kilmer's life from a variety of vantage points. It appears that the documentary is told from a first-person perspective, with a voice that is strikingly similar to that of Val Kilmer. On the other hand, a surprising revelation reveals that the person speaking is, in reality, Jack, who is Kilmer's son. The revelation becomes a tribute to the impact of Kilmer's battle with illness, which deprived him of his distinctive voice. This revelation adds a dimension of depth to the tale, as it becomes a testament to the impact of the cancer. Jack, along with his sister Mercedes, was instrumental in the production of Val. Both of them played important parts. Their participation went beyond simply being subjects of the documentary. They were also actively involved in the process of combing through nearly 800 hours of material that was shot by their father. Not only did they make contributions to the production of the film, but they also played major roles in the documentary itself, providing their own distinct points of view on the life of Kilmer. Through their dedication to marketing the film, they are demonstrating that they are a family that is committed to preserving and spreading the legacy of their great father. Please show your support for us by giving this video a like if you found it entertaining. In addition, you can see one of our most recent videos right here. In addition, we will soon be releasing even more of our videos that feature your favorite celebrities. Please make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel and that you hit the bell so that you do not miss any of our videos. Until we meet again, farewell.